Dude, I think we're live.
We're live and we're here alone.
Wow. No, we're not. I guess there's 4 people already.
Oh, sweet. All right. Well, here we are. Season preview, dude.
We're about to start recording. Hey, everybody. Yo, Max.
What's up, Max? Dude, the dude cup is right here.
Got the cup
in front. Mike won last season, which is...
we haven't started recording yet.
I know, dude. But I'm just saying it is shocking based on your picks.
It is shocking. Okay. All right. Who else we got? We got some people.
Crack Apple.
What's up, dudes? What's up, Anthony?
Anthony, all right.
All right. Let's get this show on the road. You ready?
I'm ready, dude.
You ready for the Vegas
I'm
picks?
ready. I'm ready for the picks.
I'm ready for the picks, too.
You've actually done research this year.
I did research last year, which is to say I didn't throw darts. All right, here we go. Hold on. Hey there, and welcome to the Dudes on Hockey podcast. I'm Mike. That's Doug.
Dude, it's time for the season to start.
It's time.
Dude, here we are. Hockey season just a few days away. The Sharks playing on opening night against the Corey Perry-less Anaheim Ducks, which just, it makes me, I mean, I feel like a little glitter tickle inside
it's
when
nice.
I say that. Oops, nice. I'm so sorry you're hurt. Feel bad, Ryan Kessler's out too. Oopsies.
Woo.
Oopsies. Yes, dude. Sharks about to kick it off.
We have a big show today. We're live streaming on YouTube.
We
already have people. We had people waiting for us to start. It was awesome.
Fantastic.
We're going to do the Vegas picks to start the show. We're going to do season preview.
Yep.
Dude, why don't we do a little Sharks news, top off the show? We saw Erik Karlsson in a preseason game. Are you watching? Do you care? What does this mean?
I have watched some highlights, dude. I've not been able to watch full games. They do not have the NHL network because Uverse is expensive.
It is expensive.
We've talked about this. We were just having this conversation. I don't know if we have any cord cutters out there. We're both flirting with the notion.
That's right. But the big thing that's in my way, I have to be able to watch Sharks games.
Right, and there are ways to do that. There are ways to do that, but I have issues with the DVR. Anyways, we can talk cord cutting later, dude. I just watched the highlight of Karlsson scoring his first goal tonight in Vegas, where the Sharks lost, but who cares really? And
right,
he was wide open.
Yeah.
And that's the part that's exciting here, right? Is that the Sharks have so many weapons out there on this power play, which has not been great in the preseason. But, you know, I don't want to jump ahead here, dude, but I think that we have to preach some caution here.
Yeah.
With the Sharks and how they're going to start this season. I don't think we should expect, we shouldn't expect that they're going to come out of the gates in a dead sprint, because there are some things that are different about this team.
That's right. That's right. Certainly Karlsson is the biggest one, but certainly the loss of Tierney is going to make a difference.
Sure.
Having Evander Kane all the time on the wing is different. We have a new third line center. It looks like Antti Suomela is going to be the one. You know, he's played well in the preseason. Kurz says he's the guy. He's basically a lock at this point. So yeah, there's going to be some new personnel. There's going to be people moving around, and you know, you don't really want the team to peak in October or November, frankly.
Certainly. And when you bring in a player like Erik Karlsson, who is, you know, instantly becomes the best player on your team, that's going to change the way how things are done, you know, and I think that there's going to be some adjustment. So I'm floating it, dude. I'm putting it out there.
Yeah.
We shouldn't panic if the Sharks get off to a bit of a weird start.
I think that's certainly possible. And remember, it matters how the Sharks are playing in April and May and June rather than October, November. Of course, you don't want them to lose 10 to start the season, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think they have enough talent that that's not going to happen.
Of course, I'm not expecting that. I don't think anybody is, but as good as I think we both expect the Sharks to be this year, I don't expect them to be that good in early October.
Right,
so I think that there's going to be some teams are going to look better, especially those who maybe didn't see as many changes on their roster. You know, Sharks might not have had a ton of turnover, but they had some turnover in some pretty key areas. So,
that's right.
I'm very excited, dude. I'm excited for the Vegas draft. I've never been on the losing end of this. So,
I know.
I'm extra motivated to make some mediocre picks.
So, I would say that I have all this. I'm bringing them in with confidence now that I've won, but that is absolutely not the case. I did research, and while I feel confident now, I felt good about previous picks that turned out very poorly. So, dude, I think we should have a side bet, maybe a consideration later to the dude that picks the teams that have the most regular season points. Maybe a side thing. We can decide upon those stakes later.
Okay.
But let's do that. It's not really, at odds with the normal Vegas bet. So if you don't win the full Vegas bet, you win the other bet by picking the best teams in general. So that's kind of a consolation. It could be a consolation prize, or it could just be rubbing salt on the wound for the dude that wins both, which I kind of like the idea of that as well.
That's very possible, dude.
So, dude, first of all, let us cheers to the Vegas bet.
Cheers to the Vegas bet. Cheers to a great season, dude.
Cheers, dude.
Cheers to listeners.
Cheers. Thank you for
joining us.
Cheers
those of you who are watching on
does
YouTube.
Does drinking this break YouTube terms of service? I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Well, all 7 of the people who are watching will be super disappointed.
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't know the rules, dude.
I don't care.
It's apple juice.
Yeah, that's right. It's darkened apple juice. So, dude, as the loser,
yes,
you have the option of taking the number 1 pick or passing it to me. Have you decided what you are going to do?
I have decided, dude. This is a very easy decision to make. I am making the first pick.
You are.
I am, and I am taking the Tampa Bay Lightning, dude.
Okay, not surprising. Dude, I need a piece of paper because I have to write all these picks down. I am very poorly prepared for this. Hold on.
Dude, we were just talking about dead air downstairs, and here we are.
It's not dead. It's not dead.
Dude, this is embarrassing. And the fact that you're writing down on paper. All right.
It's harder to type on a
Tampa Bay.
Okay.
Dude.
All right. So Tampa Bay. Okay. That means I am taking Nashville. Okay. Nashville, and that means I am going to take with the number 3 pick. I'm getting cold feet by looking.
This is tough.
I am. I'm already.
Dude,
I'm losing my nerve. I'm not going to lose my nerve. I'm gonna take Pittsburgh with the 3rd pick.
All right,
it's crazy, but I'm doing it.
I am taking the Boston Bruins, and the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, those are really good picks. Tough, but in divisions we've already picked. That means, dude, I am going to take the Vegas Golden Knights.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird, but it's the first Pacific team taken, and now my pen is going out. Really? Is this how this is going to work, dude? You're giving me a gigantic,
giving you a big fat green Sharpie.
Sharpie. Okay.
Oh, Max on YouTube does not agree with the Pittsburgh pick.
Yeah,
all right.
I know.
Here we go.
Okay, so I have the next pick as well, right?
Vegas, and
I am taking weird. I am totally losing my nerve. There's one team that I know you're going to take next, but I'm going to take Philly.
Wow.
I know.
Okay.
I know. It's crazy.
Wow. You've had a little bit too much whiskey, dude.
Maybe I have.
I am thrilled to take the Toronto Maple Leafs.
What? Wait, hold on. How did I miss? Oh, fuck. I guess I got a whoops.
Oh, mommy.
Man.
And this one, I like it, and also I think it could be a huge bust, but I'm going to take Columbus.
Yeah, that was the team I was talking about. I made a mistake on my sheet,
and
I didn't have Toronto. Wow, that's really going to hurt me a lot. Okay, so wow, this is already going very poorly. That means I am going to take Washington, the defending champions.
Yeah,
and I will take Calgary. Yeah. Jackets. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Dude, I will take the Los Angeles Kings.
Okay.
And I will take the St. Louis Blues.
Okay. You're trying to force me to take Minnesota. I know that, but I'm not. I don't think I'm going to. I'm going to take the Carolina Hurricanes and the Dallas Stars.
You mocked me last year for taking Carolina.
I know, but they're better this year. They got Dougie Hamilton. We'll talk about that in the season preview.
Okay, I will take the Florida Panthers. And I will take I'm going to have to take the Minnesota Wild, which really hurts. But I will,
you're going to have to eat your own words.
Well, now, they might make the playoffs. Dude,
Florida and Minnesota. That means, let's see. I will take the Chicago Blackhawks. And let's see here. I'm going to take Arizona. Getting down to the dregs. Dude, who do you want?
Who do I want? See, there's nothing really left here that I want.
That's true.
But I will take the New Jersey Devils.
Okay.
And I will take the I will take the Edmonton Oilers.
Okay, that's who I figured. I will take Colorado. They did make the playoffs. And a team that we constantly think is going to get better but never does, the Buffalo Sabres.
That's a good pick this late, dude.
Okay.
Gotta say.
Okay.
I will take the Ducks.
Okay.
And I will take the New York Islanders.
All right. That gives me the enviable position of taking the Montreal Canadiens yet again. You took the Islanders, right?
Yes.
Does that mean I am going to take the New York Rangers?
Oh.
Yeah. Dude, the last three teams, I don't like any of them.
I'll take
terrible.
Vancouver and Detroit. I'm going to make this easy.
Then I get Ottawa.
Yeah, guaranteed to make the playoffs based on our previous years.
Yeah.
This will be the year that does not happen.
Yeah, Ottawa is not good. Okay, so I can't believe I forgot Toronto. I should have taken Toronto. That was ridiculous.
That was shocking.
I made a terrible mistake. It literally does not appear on my rankings here because I mistyped it. Okay.
Shocking.
Not so smart.
Dude. I'm quite delighted with my picks.
I am not, as I normally am not. But, Nashville
and Pittsburgh. It's, I think you have a good shot of having two teams in the Western Conference Finals. I mean, as we get into our division previews, we can talk about those teams. Dude, are we ready? Should we do the division previews, dude?
I think we should.
All right. Well, let's start out east as we go with the, we're sassy. Let's go Metro, dude. Let's go Metro. All right. The defending Stanley Cup champ, as they are, deserves to be covered first, dude.
Right.
The Washington Capitals, without their coach,
right,
but essentially the same roster, dude. They are the team that won it for you last year. You have them again. So what are your thoughts on the Caps?
I am not high on the Caps this year. I am not high on the Caps this year. I don't think that, it's been really difficult for teams to repeat in the past. Obviously, Pittsburgh's done it recently, but before that, I think was Detroit in the late 90s. It just doesn't happen that often. Losing the coach, I think that was sort of the magic for that team. Having a different coach, that's not great. Also, I think they're just so happy to have won. I can't imagine them having the same fire because they don't have those same expectations, those same us against the world kind of situation. But you're right. It's the same. I actually have them third in the Metro in my preview. And that's because, as maybe I'll jump to right now, I am severely underrating Columbus. I don't know, dude. I got a lot of my picks or a lot of my insight from Don Lecision and all of his previews on The Athletic, and he's really big and high on Columbus. I think the fact that their two best players, well, for one, Jones is already hurt,
right,
which is a major problem, and the other thing is arguably their two best players, Artemi Panarin and Sergei Bobrovsky, are going to be free agents. and neither have expressed a very significant loyalty to the city. I think they might both be gone come trade deadline.
Yeah, I think that was a big hesitancy on my part to take them. But I, in the position I was in, I decided to, if things went right, if they were playing well, if the team is doing or having a good season, then this could be a situation where Columbus goes all in.
Oh yeah,
they go all in because this is their last chance. And they're going to lose both these guys, or they're going to try and make it to the Stanley Cup final. And they're going to throw everything they can at the wall to try and show these guys that this is where they should stay. So obviously I'm hoping for that outcome, but I think it's 50-50, dude. I think you're right. It's very possible that these guys could be not on this team after the deadline because of so much uncertainty, and Columbus certainly cannot afford to have them both walk away and get nothing for them. I mean, that would be a death knell for this franchise.
It would be terrible. And I would have taken them. I might have taken them if Jones did not get hurt, because he's literally one of the very best defensive pairings in the NHL. And I think people forget that. You have Jones and Zach Werenski, like they're a top 5 NHL pair.
Right.
And so, and their second pair ain't bad either, frankly. So it's really something that is easy to underestimate in terms of Columbus. And obviously they have an elite goaltender in Bobrovsky, but there's so much uncertainty surrounding that team. I couldn't put them in a top 5 pick like they were ranked by The Athletic. So dude, that means I have Pittsburgh first, obviously, in the division.
I did too.
Because when you have basically 2 first lines, which you have when you have Malkin and Crosby, you essentially have 2 first lines. It's hard not to be great, and they're great.
Yes, but I feel like, I felt like it was sort of by default that they were the top team, and when you're sort of pumping your fist in the air because you brought in Jack Johnson as your big off-season move.
Yeah.
I think the good news for Pittsburgh is that, again, their window is still open to be competitive. They've had some massive injury issues over can Letang stay healthy?
Right.
Can Jack Johnson be productive? Can Crosby and Malkin stay healthy?
Right.
These are massive questions. They lost some depth in Connor Sheary that I didn't love that they had to give him up. I understand it, from a cost-cutting perspective, but you always know that, they're going to be looking to make some additions at the deadline. So I think Pittsburgh by default is number 1.
Right.
But also, if everything goes right in Columbus, they could be the best team in that. If Bobrovsky and Panarin were signed, I might have been a little more inclined to rate them a little bit higher, but that could be a massive distraction, which is why that Philadelphia pick of yours is pretty sneaky, dude.
Yeah.
They had the best addition in that division by adding JVR.
That's right. They added JVR. Claude Giroux saw a big resurgence last year. Most people didn't really see it because they weren't really talking so much about Philly last year, and they have this sneaky defensive pairing in Shane Gostisbehere and this Russian guy Ivan Provorov.
Right.
And that's a great young pair. Gostisbehere is an offensive monster, and they have a couple of really good lines. Sean Couturier is now the number 1 center. Their biggest problem, as has always been their problem since Bernie Perrott, is they have, I don't even know who they have in goal right now.
They've got Brian Elliott. And they've got Michael Neuvirth.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
They have another problem in goal.
Which is, I don't think Columbus would ever deal within their division. But you got to imagine Philadelphia is licking their chops at the thought of the Bob hitting the open market.
Sure.
In the offseason. But, I don't know that there's a lot of goalies out there and available. Little surprised that, they might have made a play for Grubauer, and maybe Washington didn't want to send him within division either. But goaltending is an issue, and I think it will keep them from having a long run in the playoffs. But it certainly is a team that I expect to be there. I have them as a wild card team. They're my first wild card team in the East, and Pittsburgh's 1, Columbus 2, Washington 3, dude. And now we start to get to an area where, you've got some teams that have some big question marks.
Yeah.
New Jersey Devils made the playoffs last year, dude.
On the back of a truly monster season by Taylor Hall, who won the Hart Trophy.
Right. And I just, similar to Vegas, I just don't see it happening again. And Vegas is a better team than New Jersey. I just don't know that they can duplicate it. Schneider, coming off a major surgery, is not going to be ready to start the year. I don't think Keith Kincaid is ready to carry this team. So even though there's some weaknesses in the Metro, I don't love New Jersey as a team to get back into the playoffs. I think there are some other teams that could pass them.
Like Carolina.
I
think Carolina is not bad. The general consensus above the big trade is that Carolina got the better end of that trade.
Right.
They got Dougie Hamilton, who is really a top pairing defenseman, a very highly productive defenseman on the back end, and they have other good young D there. With another, they're a little bit in the, well, Philly's got a lot more offense than Carolina does, but Carolina also has a problem at goaltender. So that's the downside of Carolina, I think.
Yeah. And a pretty massive makeover. They have kind of a wild card owner who I'm not sure is really done trying to put his stamp on this entire franchise. And I had them rated above New Jersey.
Me too.
But I don't think that they're ready to make that next step. And I wouldn't be surprised if they made some other drastic roster change, just because this owner seems to be a little Mark Cuban-ish.
Yeah.
Used to seeing in the hockey world.
So we're actually left with the 3 New York metropolitan area teams as the bottom 3 in the division. I have the Islanders next best, as I expect you do, and the Rangers are clearly in a rebuilding phase.
Right. Islanders get a massive bump just because of coaching.
Yes.
And
but they lost Tavares and didn't really replace him.
Right. But I have faith in that coaching staff's ability to try and, this team's not going to make the playoffs, dude.
No.
But you could see them early, especially, sort of have a rallying cry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Similar to what Vegas had. It is not the same situation. Please. We all understand that. But, this is a team that's been left for dead, right?
Yep.
I mean, they have been discounted as being not relevant.
Oh yeah.
And they might find a way to be annoying enough to get some points. And so the Islanders, I don't think, should be overlooked. The Rangers are just in pure transition and have such a unbalanced, mismatched roster until they start to trim away at it more. They're better off being bad. And yeah, dude.
And now we move to the Atlantic, dude. So the thing about Metro is interesting is that I think, at least in my mind, there's pretty clearly 4 playoff teams there and pretty clearly 4 teams that aren't. And I feel like the contrast is even more stark in the Atlantic. A lot of people are talking about how the Atlantic is maybe the toughest division in hockey. I disagree with that, actually, but I think it's even more stark. I think you clearly have 4 playoff teams in the Atlantic, and you have clearly 4 teams that aren't. Of course, I'm going to be proven wrong, and Montreal is going to win the division or something. But the Lightning are the best team. The Lightning are the best team in the NHL. If I had the number 1 pick, I would have taken the Lightning. It would not have been close. I think Nashville is right with them. I think Dom Lucian actually rated Nashville slightly higher than the Lightning.
He did.
They have a better defensive core, which is kind of amazing to say because the Lightning's defense is by no means bad. And so that's why I went with Nashville, although Nashville's in a more difficult division. I think Nashville's in the toughest division in the NHL, which is not to their benefit. So, but the Lightning is pretty clearly the class of the Atlantic, and a team that you and I both vastly underrated last year were the Boston Bruins. And now I think we have to say that the Boston Bruins have the best forward line in hockey.
Yes.
They have the best forward line in hockey.
They do.
And that's Brad Marchand, David Pasternak, and the guy who wins the Selke every year.
Bergeron.
And Bergeron. That is the best offensive line in hockey.
Yeah,
and their second line isn't that bad because we haven't even talked about David Krejci yet.
Right, and they've got some good players in D, and they've got Tuukka Rask, which is why Boston is extremely dangerous. I mean, I think it's a toss up between the Central and the Atlantic. I think that,
I think Montreal, Ottawa, and Detroit are so bad.
That's true, but Buffalo is going to be better, and Florida was the best team in the NHL for the last 30 games of last year.
Right.
So
that's why I say those 4 teams are going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
With Buffalo, Montreal, Ottawa, and Detroit probably being pretty far out.
No, yeah, there's no question. And I know it was you want, if you had a do-over, you would have taken Toronto.
I would have taken Toronto instead of Philly.
Well, I think Tampa Bay, clearly the best team, dude. The thing that gives me pause, I still don't understand why Steve Yzerman stepped down. I think
he's going to Detroit.
Well, okay, then that makes me a little nervous. He's the one who orchestrated this entire roster, and now for him not to be there at a critical moment in that franchise makes me a little uncomfortable.
Yeah,
in terms of having them as the top pick, but I do think they are the best team. But I think that Boston, and especially, is poised enough to knock them off. And it could happen. Like I expect that will be, the matchup in the Atlantic bracket, Boston, Tampa Bay. And I did consider that if Tampa Bay came out of that, would they be so wiped that whoever they played next, Columbus, Pittsburgh, Philly, Washington, have a chance to get past them because they were just so beat, and because even, they would have a tough draw because I would have them as the top seed, and then I'd have them playing Florida in the first round. And that's brutal too.
Yeah.
That's really rough. So tough stuff. Toronto, I have as the 3rd team in the Atlantic.
Me too.
And their D is not good. And that's
not
the issue.
It may not be as bad as a lot of people like to say, but it's definitely not good. It's
right.
Definitely not good.
And they haven't done anything to really try and address it. And while they made a big splash with Tavares,
and they
may have been better served going after Erik Karlsson.
Yeah, I guess that's true, especially since they have the second best player in the NHL in Austin Matthews right now.
Right. So Toronto's going to be good. They're going to be entertaining. They're going to be in a lot of 7-4 games. They might be on the losing end of some of those.
The thing that I downgrade with Toronto and help buoy them is they're in a city that cares so much about hockey and is going to nitpick every little thing this team does, especially since the expectations now are high, right? For this team. This team traditionally was not a very good team, and it was just like, well, Toronto, they suck again. And now everyone's like, they have Austin Matthews, the second best player in the NHL. They just got John Tavares. They have Patrick Marleau on the top line. They're going to put Patrick Marleau on the top line with Austin Matthews, perhaps. And then the second line has Mitch Marner and William Nylander. It's insane, like the amount of offensive talent they have. And you put that team full of young players under this intense scrutiny. I don't know how that's going to go. It's going to be an extremely high pressure situation. And if they respond to it, they could go all the way. And if they don't respond to it, it could be bad.
I don't think they can go all the way with the defensive core that they have. And they're going to need to make a decision involving one of their young players. But if they can try and get an impact defenseman to join them, and I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
But I don't think, as their roster is put together right now, it's flawed in a similar way to the Edmonton Oilers. They just don't have that player.
Right.
Dude, Florida is going to be a real pain in the ass.
They're good.
I think they're good.
They're a good team.
And they just got better by adding, Mike Instagram, Hoffman.
Yeah.
And
he's a good player.
He can score.
Bobby Lou is still doing just fine in goal.
Sure. They're good enough they could steal a playoff series against somebody.
They could.
And it wouldn't shock me if they ended up in leapfrogging Toronto. It wouldn't shock me.
Yeah.
If they ended up doing that, just because I think their overall roster might not be as talented, but it might be more balanced. Buffalo, dude. I mean, is this the year that Buffalo is able to take a serious step forward.
I think they're going to be respectable, but not a playoff team.
Right.
That's sort of where I see. Jack Eichel is still an excellent player. They have this kid Rasmus Dahlin, who's going to be great, but it's just not enough. It's not enough yet.
Right. I agree, but I do think that I think this is a team that you could see having the ability to beat anybody on any night. Goaltending also a big issue in Buffalo, but they have some high-end talent, probably better served to not be that good and continue to add pieces to try and be relevant in a year or two.
Yeah.
Detroit
and Ottawa are the two worst teams in the NHL.
They're bad.
I think.
Yeah, they're bad. And Montreal, they're bad also, but then when you have Carey Price, you always have a chance to win. But when you don't have Shea Weber for months, that's bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
and that's like really the only bright spot.
Or David Schlemko, dude.
Oh no,
he's out again.
Oh no,
I didn't want to alarm you, but he's hurt one more time.
Who would have
got a paper cut? So, no good, dude.
And then we're moving to the Central, which I think is the toughest division in hockey.
Yeah,
because if I have the Blackhawks as the worst team in the division, I mean, when the Blackhawks are the worst team in the division, I mean, and they're not going to be great, but they're not that far removed from a Stanley Cup,
I don't think they're very good, dude. I mean, I think that this team
still have some high-end talent that some of these really bad teams don't have.
They do, but I think if they continue to struggle, some of those guys are going to want out, because they didn't really do anything to get better. Corey Crawford it's a concern, about his health. He's still not going to be ready for the start of the year. If they don't have him, they're cooked. Seabrook has seen better days. And the Magic just has run out. I think in Chicago,
the window's gone.
Well, really, they would be better served to try and start over.
They really only have one elite player anymore in Patrick Kane, honestly.
Right. Well, maybe it's time to move him and get some assets that can reboot this franchise, because I've been watching it for the last 2 years in the San Francisco Giants. They just held on a little bit too long. And now these guys they're not as valuable, and your team is pretty bad. Well, we started at the bottom. I think they're the worst team in the Central. And you're right. If they're the worst team, they're significantly better than those other ones. The best team, according to my ratings, dude, is Winnipeg.
Really?
I have them rated higher than Nashville.
I totally disagree.
It would have been really difficult for me to take them over Nashville, because my gut tells me that Nashville is a better team, but the numbers that I ran over several different people's rankings, I have Winnipeg rated a half a point higher than Nashville. It's that close.
It's close.
But if you even factor in some of the casino ratings, I have Winnipeg rated 0.8 points higher. So on both of those ratings of mine, Winnipeg is rated as a better team. But I think it's kind of a toss-up.
It's close. I think, Winnipeg clearly has better offense. They clearly have the top two lines of Winnipeg are very fearsome, but Nashville has, frankly, the best top four in the league, and that includes the Sharks, which is crazy. You have Dan Ellis and Roman Josi as your top line.
Yeah.
And you have PK Subban on your second pairing.
Right.
And so that's insane. Plus, Pecorine, who played well last year, maybe had a down year the year before that. And you have Aaron Philip Forsberg, Ryan Johansson in the center. I mean, they're stacked. Nashville is stacked. But you're right. It's not quite the same as Patrick Laine and Brian, and all those guys that they have up front. For Winnipeg, I don't believe as much in Collar Hellebuck in goal, and I don't believe as much in their D. Bufflin, it's hard to say. Trouba I like, but they don't compare to Nashville in that regard. So, but they're close. I mean, I wouldn't be sad having either one of those.
They're not close, dude. They were better than them last year. I mean, they got further last year.
Yeah, they did.
So I think that is where Winnipeg has the edge. I think Hellebuck is much better in goal. I don't trust Pecorine. And I think that Winnipeg could do it again, but Nashville is good. And also, I mean, David Poyle's the best GM, other than our own Doug Wilson, of course. But I mean, David Poyle always seems to make the right move. And you know, down the middle, I like Johansson, I like Turris, I like Bonino. I think that they have some real high-end talent on both sides of the puck. But can the goaltending hold up, dude? I'm just not sure. My third team in the Central, dude,
is St. Louis.
Is St. Louis.
Yeah, me too.
No,
you don't have Dallas ahead of them.
Oh no, you're right, dude.
St. Louis got better. St. Louis got better.
St. Louis did get better.
They didn't get better enough to be a Stanley Cup, like legitimate Stanley Cup contender in my eyes, although they do have one of the best wingers in the game in Tarasenko. They have a goaltending problem too. They have Philly disease.
Well, I mean, I think it's a little different. I mean, Jake Allen has a good regular season stats, right? But when he gets to the playoffs or in high pressure situations, he just doesn't seem to be able to close the deal. And this is also another team that has significantly made over its roster. So seeing them get off to kind of a rough start wouldn't be shocking when you're adding so many different new faces in important roles. But they also seem very motivated to go for it now. Which is interesting given the roadblocks that seem to be ahead of them in that division. I would have thought they might try and slow play this a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I would have done.
They really, they're all in, dude. I don't love St. Louis, but I think that they are a playoff team, and I certainly think that they're better than Minnesota, which who I reluctantly have.
I have Dallas ahead of Minnesota.
I do have Dallas ahead of Minnesota as well.
Dallas has one amazing forward line and one amazing defensive pairing. I think that's more than a lot of teams have. I like Dallas. I think they're gonna jump forward now that they're not under Hitchcock. They have an extremely offensive minded defenseman in Klingberg. They have very offensive minded players,
right?
And Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin. They're basically going to take the reins off those guys. Like, I like what Dallas can do this year. They're not deep enough to win the cup or anything, but they could make the playoffs. They could easily make the playoffs.
I don't think that Ben Bishop is so fragile that is he really going to make it through a whole season, dude? I don't believe it. Like, I just don't think it's going to happen.
Right.
And then they also have a major goaltending issue. When that happens, for a team that has some good D-men, but not a lot of depth, I think that, you know, this could be an issue for Dallas, and that's going to keep them from being super relevant, you know, but that'd be a tough matchup for Winnipeg or Nashville if they are the number one team in the West, which I have them rated as such. You know, for them to have to play one of those two teams, one of that team, actually, that would be hard. It'd be a tough draw for the Sharks too, right?
Yep. It was a tough call for me to put Minnesota ahead of Colorado. I kind of wanted to put Colorado ahead. I think Minnesota just has more talent than Colorado. I think they're probably going to have more points in the regular season. Colorado obviously took the hockey world a little bit by surprise. No one expected them to make the playoffs last year, and they did. They don't have a goaltending problem. If there's one thing they don't have, it's a goaltending problem right now.
Right. Yeah, they have a surplus. They've got two very capable goalies, which also is an interesting move. And you got to figure that, you know, one of those guys might not make it through the whole year, that they might trade one of them and try and gather some more assets. You know, they're sitting in a very pretty position, right? I mean, they could end up with the number one pick, you know, in the whole draft next year.
That's right.
Thanks to Ottawa. So, I think for Colorado, you're not going to see them make some crazy moves. I think that they're also, and they should be slow playing this, you know, that this isn't going to be their time. They make the playoffs awesome, but they should be accumulating assets. They're going to be okay. Minnesota is Minnesota. Like, I mean, it's just the same story.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing different about this team. They're going to be good. They're not going to be good enough. They'll probably make the playoffs. I sure hope they play the Sharks in the first round. Easy win.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll be out because they aren't able to win in the playoffs, dude. Just not a good team.
And the Blackhawks, as we said, have faded. So in the Pacific, dude, do you have the Sharks winning the Pacific?
I do. I have the Sharks winning the Pacific.
So do I. Which is which is a little scary because, you know, when I look closer at Vegas, Vegas actually improved. I think Vegas got better. I don't think they can capture the magic last year and ride it all the way in. But I think on paper, this team is better than it was last year. I think with Pacioretty, with Stasny, they're better than the players they gave up, and James Neal and the other, I can't remember.
David Perron.
David Perron.
Well, it's a little bit of the secret sauce, though, right, dude? Right. I mean, like, you know, you had two guys who, especially James Neal, who seemed to be sort of right in the middle of the emotional, you know, hotbed of made that team move. And, you know, Perron, he wasn't even barely playing at the end. I mean, he sort of came off of it, but how much are they going to miss James Neal? Is Pacioretty going to return to form, or is he going to be a 17-goal guy?
Right.
Paul Stasny is not the number one center that.
No, but they don't need a number one center. They have the best. They have one of the better lines in hockey.
Sure,
top line.
But I guess they had one of the better lines in hockey last year that came out of total nowhere.
True.
From three guys who their teams didn't want.
True.
So can they do that again? I mean, I certainly hope not.
They're not going to take anybody by surprise. That's
certainly
for sure.
Not going to take anybody by surprise. And I think there's going to be some serious regression with this team. And I have them as the second best team in the Western Conference, but it's almost, this one's almost by default too, because I think that sorry, not the Western Conference, Pacific Division.
Yeah.
I think the Sharks are clearly the best team in the Pacific Division, and Vegas is second. I have the Kings as third, and I think the Kings could end up being better than Vegas in the end, just because they have, I think, a more proven core.
Yeah.
You know, with you add Kovalchuk, they have Kopitar. If they have a healthy Jeff Carter, Toffoli, Pearson, Drew Doughty, Muzzin, and Jonathan Quick, that could easily be the second best team in this division. So I still think as good as Vegas was last year, there's a lot of question marks, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. I have LA third as well. One thing I broke with Dom Lucian on is he had the Ducks as the second best team in the Pacific, and that they lost Corey Perry and Ryan Kessler still out. They have some guys where, you know, that we should probably know better being Sharks fans, guys like Ricard Raquel, who's actually a really good player, but they just don't scare me as much, especially after we whooped them.
Yeah, no way.
So I actually put them down fifth in the Pacific.
Yeah, I have them rated as fifth as well. I have them behind Calgary, who I have as a bubble playoff team. And I had Anaheim as a bubble playoff team too, until they lost Corey Perry for 5 months.
That's right.
And then I think that they have little shot, you know?
If they can't get Kessler healthy, I was sort of expecting Kessler was going to be able to play, but doesn't seem like he's really anywhere close to coming back. That's a real problem.
Well, let's talk about Calgary, dude, because I think this is sort of the mystery team to me.
Absolutely.
That, you know, we've been waiting for Calgary to kind of take the next step. They made a major trade to, you know, sort of revise their roster by getting rid of Dougie Hamilton, who, you know, a lot of people say is one of the top 15 defensemen in the league.
Yeah.
And you traded him for Noah Hannafin, who was a high pick, who hasn't quite lived up to expectations.
It's true.
And Lindholm, who is a good forward, not a great forward. I don't know about this, although, you know, if Dougie Hamilton was such an issue in their locker room, which apparently maybe he was,
right,
then maybe they felt like they had to do it.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's a talented team that I felt pretty confident in picking last year, and I thought they were going to make the playoffs, and they weren't that close. You know, I don't know what to think about this team. Last year, I thought this team was on the upswing, and now I'm not as sure. I'm not nearly as sure about the Flames. I think I have them making the playoffs, but they're going to be close. They're going to be like the 8th seed, I think. You know, they're going to be the last seed in the Pacific. They'll probably be the 8th seed overall. They might have to play Nashville in the first round. They're going to get whooped. So, and I have the Oilers out.
I have the Oilers out too. You know, Talbot, I think his performance 2 years ago is proving to be a bit of a mirage. And, you know, when you lose Sekera for a significant amount of time, which is, you know,
a team that didn't have any good defense anyway,
and they lose maybe their best or second best one, yeesh.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what they're doing over there. Like, I really, I don't know what they're doing, but it's not good.
They have the best offensive player in the game, and they were one of the worst teams on the power play. Like, I don't know how you make that happen, but that's what they did last year.
Well, yeah. I mean,
they have some amazing offensive talent.
It's a really flawed roster, dude. It's a
really
flawed roster. It's not balanced. The Lucic signing is proving to be terrible.
Yep.
They had a great year that first year, and then last year was so bad. You got to think maybe they'll end up somewhere in the middle. But I don't think they have the overall roster composition to be a playoff team. Now, the team that I think also is very interesting is Arizona.
Yeah.
And I saw an article written this week saying that don't be surprised or don't sleep on Arizona when the next major player becomes available in the trade market. Maybe it's Panarin.
Mm-hmm.
They have the assets to go out there and make a huge splash. But, would they risk that for, 3 months to Panarin if he has no intention of signing there? Probably not. But, they may be looking to add a player who has some term on his deal to add to this core. They're getting closer to being relevant.
They are. They just don't have enough high-end talent for me. That's the thing about the Coyotes. They're not embarrassing. They're not terrible. They got some good players. They don't really have any great players, though, in my estimation. They don't have any. I mean, Oliver Ekman-Larsson is really good. He's not an elite defenseman. He might have been a few years ago. He's not now. You can't put him in the same conversation as Erik Karlsson and PK Subban and Dougie Hamilton and some of these other guys. They have good players. No real great players, and that's the problem with Arizona. They need to get some great players, and they've been doing the right things, which is get high draft picks and try and draft well, which I think they've been basically doing. But yeah, I just hope if those guys pan out, they could be really dangerous. If they don't pan out, then they're just going to be the Coyotes again.
Looking at the bottom of the division, dude, you've got Vancouver, which they're just not going to be very good.
No.
At all, dude, and that about does it. If we look ahead, dude, who will be playing in the Stanley Cup Final?
I think Tampa Bay, Nashville is what we say.
Well, I would disagree. I'm going to say it's Tampa Bay and our San Jose Sharks, dude. And funny enough, NHL.com, their writers overwhelmingly pick the Sharks to win the Stanley Cup.
No kidding.
They do. They pick it overwhelmingly. I think that they had 9 different people pick them, and they were, by far the team that had the most picks, dude. Let's take a look here. Sharks improved offense makes them one of the favorites in the West. Let's see. Dude, Stanley Cup predictions for 2019. We have 7 of the 18 writers pick the Sharks to win the cup. Tampa Bay is 6, and the Preds and Jets each got 2 votes, and the Penguins got 1. So, I mean, clearly the majority of people are picking San Jose and Tampa Bay.
Wow. That actually is really surprising to me, I have to say. That's really surprising. I wouldn't have expected that.
Dude, I am not surprised. You need to have a little faith.
I'm not saying I don't have faith, dude. Maybe I'm just still a little shell shocked from the Karlsson trade. It's just exciting. Kind of amazing.
Well, it's exciting. I mean, I think the way that we'll transition to talking about the Sharks now, who have not had a great preseason, and
no,
but I really am not that worried about
There's some in the comment thread or in the chat. There's some people saying I'm kind of worried. Sharks not looking so good in the preseason, but then I think it's preseason. No one really cares.
Preseason, and then the way that this team is set up, they have an awesome roster. I mean, like the team is really good, and I think it's going to take a little time for them to gel. But when they do, look out. Look out. I mean, they are set up to win now, and if they can stay healthy, this could be a really, really fun year.
It really could be amazing.
Around San Jose.
I'm sort of trying to play it down in my head a little bit, because if I think about it too much, I'll get really excited.
I'm not playing it down, dude. I think this is it. Like, this is our chance. This is our shot.
Yep.
Whoever we draw in the East would be tough, whether it's Tampa or Boston or Pittsburgh. I think those are the three most likely opponents coming out the other side. That would be a tough draw. And then when you get to the Western Conference Finals, and you have to play either Winnipeg
or Nashville.
That's going to be really tough too. But I don't think the Sharks are going to have as difficult of a draw in their own division.
That's right. Their division is the easiest in hockey. So the Pacific is definitely the easiest division, I think.
So again, if you're in a position where Vegas and LA meet up and the Sharks draw Minnesota, then you hope that they can sort of get past that.
Right.
And wait for whoever's next. I think the Sharks are both better than both those teams. I know Vegas, it's a little bit of a gamble. If they can play like they did last year, then, maybe we'll be eating our words, but I don't think that they're going to be able to duplicate that success. I don't think Flower can be that good again.
Right.
And overall,
and they're missing frankly, their best defenseman for 20 games.
Yeah. And that's going to hurt. I think, the Sharks are primed and set up, dude.
Yeah.
It's good times, dude.
It is good times. Dude. It's a good preview. We've been at this for 50 minutes. I think we've said way too much as it is.
Well, it wouldn't be a preview unless we went to almost an hour.
Yeah.
So we have
to go a long time.
Dude, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of roster questions really left other than who will be the seventh defenseman. I don't really feel like that's very clear right now, whether it's going to be Heed, whether it's going to be Simic. Looking at the last time both those guys played, which was now 3 games ago. I mean, he did play 23 minutes. He played the most, I think, of any defenseman on that trip to Calgary. So Simic played about 17. Does that mean they were just giving him a longer look just to see really,
Will they carry 8?
Well, that's the question. And I think that it's possible because, and I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that either of those guys, they'd have to expose them to waivers.
I'm pretty sure.
Gambrell, there's no risk of losing him.
Colin says they keep both.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'll defer to Colin on this.
Chartier, they won't lose him to waivers. So one of those guys I will stay. I think Gambrell will come down, be sent down. Chartier might be the one who sticks around. Although maybe they'll keep the Russian player who played in the KHL. I don't think he's Russian actually, but the guy who played in the KHL, Lindell or whatever the guy is, because he is an older player. Right. Maybe you don't mind having him sort of travel with the team and not play as much when you want Chartier and Gambrell to be playing, extensive minutes for the CUDA. So we'll see. I don't think the Sharks are going to be willing to risk losing either of those guys on waivers to start the year.
And like I said last week, if I was Vegas, I just take whoever if they supposed to be, I just take them. Too bad. It's like, it's sort of like your loss is my gain kind of situation.
Yeah.
I would seriously consider it.
Like we said, it worked out with Ryan Carpenter for them, so maybe they'll take another swing.
You never know. Right, why not, right? And if they're
eventually
they're down a defenseman,
sure, and eventually Sharks might have to make that call, to see if there's a time where they feel like they could slip him through based on the roster. They probably have a decent idea of which teams out there might be looking to add either of those guys and how they might be able to sneak them through
or trade them.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I don't think either of those guys have a ton of value.
Probably not, but you got a 5th round or something. I don't know.
Dude.
Get David Schlemko.
Let me take your temperature.
But anyway, it's going to be an exciting year. That's for sure. I mean, for me, Suomela is going to be a really big piece of how this team does in the first couple of months. I mean, if they can really only play 2 lines that they feel comfortable in, then this team could really struggle.
But I don't think that's going to be the case. I mean, the way that they've, if the Timo Meier on the top line, Evander Kane on the third line, right now is where it is. I mean, because that's what they've got right now, right? I mean, all 3 of those lines could play significant minutes.
Yeah.
And that's exciting.
Yeah.
When you've got Suomela, Donskoy, Kane, right?
Yeah. It's
nuts. And then you've got Thornton, Pavelski, Meyer.
Right.
And then you've got Couture, LeBanc, Hurdle.
Yep.
That's some dangerous stuff, dude.
It's good stuff.
Pretty dangerous. And you got to like that a lot. So we'll see, dude.
Yeah. Wednesday can't come soon enough.
Dude, let's see if we
really
got any more comments. Really want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching live. And looks like you guys have had a lively discussion in the chat. And dude,
Vegas Cup.
I almost want to just take it back right now.
You can't take it back right now, dude. Even though I forgot about Toronto, which I'm sure is not going to come back and bite me in the ass.
It could be Nashville, Pittsburgh, dude.
It could be. It could be. The last few years, it's been the team that maybe wasn't like the up and coming team that was super like touted. Like that team this year is Toronto. Like the last few years, it's been like the team that's been close, but it hasn't quite made it. And that was Washington last year. The team that was close, but wasn't, but is a good team. That's been Pittsburgh before that.
Sure.
That's why I think Nashville. This might be Nashville's year.
Well, and that's why it could be Columbus's year.
Or the Sharks' year.
But unfortunately, the Sharks appear to be highly touted.
Yeah, that's true.
It could be Columbus's year. I mean, this could be if they're able to keep that roster together. If things are going well, one of the guys resigns.
Yeah.
And then they add a piece.
If they can re-sign both those guys, then my outlook on them completely changes.
Right. I mean, it's a huge question mark. It's
a
huge question mark.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining, everybody. Go Sharks.
Go Sharks.
All right.
Dude. All right.
Dude, I can't believe I forgot Toronto.
You did.
So
you forgot Toronto.
I completely forgot Toronto.
You forgot Toronto, and why? Oh, man. Oh, gosh. I really hope that that's not true, that
what's that?
Patrick Marleau raises the cup.
Oh, I wasn't even really thinking about that. They're not going to win.
I can't believe you forgot Toronto.
I can't believe I did
that fell in my lap.
I know it did. It did.
I don't want to. Should I tell you, dude, that my top 3 rated teams, I got all of them?
Did you?
I did.
You don't have Nashville in the top 3?
I had them 4.
How?
Well, dude, these are not my ratings. These
Nashville's
are my
better than Winnipeg.
Well, dude,
Nashville's
not according to my nerdy ratings.
Side bet, dude. Nashville over Winnipeg in the Central?
No. Well, because I got to tell you, I'll be honest. I mean, my gut. I mean, full disclosure.
Yeah.
Originally, before I put together this spreadsheet, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to take, because I was really put off by the Iceman thing. But okay,
yeah.
Well,
they don't need any more personnel. They can win with what they got.
I'm going to take Nashville, and I'm going to force you into taking 2 players, because I felt like Nashville was the best team. And then when I started to put together the rankings, and they came out as 4th.
See, I'm glad, because if you gave me the 2 and the 3, I would have been tempted to take.
Well, I did give you. Well, I did. Well, yeah. I
mean, but you took Tampa Bay,
right?
If you didn't take Tampa Bay, then the next 2 best teams for me would have been Tampa Bay and Boston in the same division, which I would not have wanted to take.
But see, I love that I have Tampa Bay, I have Boston, I have Toronto, and I have Florida. I think I basically have a team in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right.
Like, I know I have one, and I think I have.
It's gonna be hard to have both of them.
No, I don't think I would have both, but I've got one. And I think for the rest, it could be Nashville, could be Winnipeg, right? I think the Sharks will be the one in the Pacific. And the Metro, dude, I mean, it's really, it could be Philly. If everything breaks right? I mean, it could be crazy.
See, I got Philly and Pittsburgh. See, I think it's going to be one of those 2 teams.
Dude, and you have Washington. So actually, you're set up pretty nicely out there. It's going to be a good one, dude.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining in.
All right. Bye.